government, civil society, through advisory and consultative process need not be re-emphasized because you all have been with the chamber since long and partnering very many activities of the chamber. In our CEO forum meetings, we generally deliberate on a wide variety of issues which affect us on our day-to-day life, and the topics vary from cryptocurrency to significance of water usage and waste management. See, if you look at water usage, let me tell you, more than 2,500 years ago, when Indus Valley civilization reached its zenith, but it mysteriously lost its effulgence and it disappeared. See, many archaeologists believe that it was due to the catastrophic water scarcity possibly caused by shifting of rivers, which made people abandon the settlements. And coming forward, even a Niti Aayog report in 2018 states bluntly that 600 million people, that is half of our population, face extreme water crisis. 3/4 of India's rural households don't have piped potable water. India ranks 120 among 122 countries in its water quality index. If you ask me, even after 75 years, if the country has not succeeded in ensuring potable water to its citizens, it is nothing but the failure of the state. A study by a rural paper in the North India called Gaon Connection says 39% of Indian women have to go out of their houses to fetch water, and that too walking 1 to 5 kilometers a day. Close to 70% don't have drinking water. We sitting in Kerala don't face or are not aware about the water crisis, I would say. Though we all go through the same thing, because in spite of having plentiful monsoon, we can see water tankers crisscrossing the cities. And the future looks bleak for a country that accounts for 18% of the population, but only 4% of the available fresh water. Our per capita water consumption, water availability has come down from 500 cubic meters 50 years ago to 1,500 cubic meters now. And we extract almost 250 billion cubic meters of water every year. And 89% of this water extracted goes for agriculture, and that too for water guzzling products like cotton, paddy, and all that. Because we don't generally get into any water management, because we have water management is something which we are absolutely not bothered about. Coming to our Indian water management is basically, as I was talking, it's about acute mismanagement. We have absolutely no capacity or capability to trap and store rainwater, which we get plenty, unlike many other countries. And neither do we know about how to use water frugally, because we think it's available in plenty because we get it virtually free. And parts of the country are flooded and parts of the country are bone dry. 30% of Indians live in water-stressed areas. See, I've been talking like this only to make people understand the gravity of the situation. And people say, and the studies have shown that if we consume water at this rate, we will have only half the water it needs in 2030. Now, coming to waste management, let me tell you that is the easiest thing we know, because we have absolutely no policy, and our way of waste management is just throwing it in either the corporation road or the neighbor's plot. So we are absolutely comfortable doing that. See, now jokes apart, management of waste should be sustainable. See, that is the main thing, the most important thing. It should be sustainable, and it should also be economically viable. Managing solid waste is the biggest challenge of our growing cities, which we know we are experiencing in Cochin itself. We should look at combining waste disposal and managing the residual waste through a development of an engineered landfill. Basically, for solid waste, you need an engineered landfill, and waste to energy facilities. We only hear about these things. Every day the government comes and talks about waste to energy facilities, and the chamber also is not foreign to waste to energy facility. And the Indians generally faces lot of challenges related to a waste policy, waste technology selection, availability of trained people, and anything connected with the waste management, we have an issue. And we continue to suffer from poor waste management. As I was telling, I just set the tone of the meeting, and we have Mr. Dinesh Sadashivan, President of Ion Exchange India, a specialist in water and environment manager. They offer environment solutions for water management, water treatment, water recycling, and zero liquid discharge. They provide solutions across industry, homes, and communities. Mr. Dinesh Sadashivan has long years of experience, long years of service as the ED and CEO of Ion Exchange Services from 2006 to 2013, which subsequently merged with Ion Exchange India, and is an authority in water and waste management. I welcome him and all members of the CEO Forum and all other guests for this morning session on a topic of great relevance and increasing relevance today, and this can even affect our existence. I thank the past president, Mr. Venugopal, for connecting with him, and I thank the sponsors, Mrs. Mahindra Holidays. And finally, I place before you Mr. Dinesh Sadashivan, President of Ion Exchange India Limited. Thank you. Over to you, Mr. Dinesh.
Thank you, Mr. Hari Kumar. Good morning to all. I must thank Mr. Hari Kumar for setting the tone. You have covered a lot of things which I would be talking about. So it makes it easy for me to get onto the subject, because I was thinking it will be a little boring subject, you know, of water and talking about wastewater and all this. So I have this presentation, I have this talk with a presentation which will end with a video which is available on Google. Thank you for setting this tone, and I also thank Cochin Chamber of Commerce for inviting me to talk on this subject, which I feel is extremely crucial and important, as some data which Mr. Hari Kumar shared and a lot more which I would be sharing. So getting on to the subject, I hope all of you can see the screen.
Yeah, yes, we can.
So when I was asked to give a subject for the talk about more than a month ago, it was a mundane topic, which was a subject which was given sustainability, significance of water usage and waste management. But when I sat to prepare for this talk yesterday, and when I was going through some data, I felt this would be a better title for today's subject: Get on the Zero Waste Train or Get Left Behind. We need to think about tomorrow today, and this is the theme for the talk today. We have all seen this highlight a couple of days ago. This has been the news. India setting a goal in the recent Glasgow Climate Summit of COP26. So better late than never, but yeah, it is a tough challenge from as things stand now. We know the issues which are facing us. The brown issues, that is land pollution, therefore the need for solid waste management, technologies for collection, disposal, recycling and treatment of domestic and industrial hazardous waste. The city that I am sitting now in, Bangalore, we have been talking, currently the news is all about waste segregation, whether to follow the Indore model of collecting dry and wet waste together, but they don't have the technology to do it. So it's all confusion with regard to waste management, sustainable agri practices, organic farming, forestry, nature development, and soil remediation. So we are aware that land is polluted and there is a need to do all these things. When it comes to environment pollution, the green issues, the need for afforestation, biodiversity, sustainable agriculture practices, and dredging countryside management, it's more than 150 million hectares of land which is degraded and unfit for agriculture. 70% of wildlife is lost due to deforestation. So environment is something which all talk about and all are aware, but nothing really is being done. And coming to our subject of the blue issues, which we talk in Ion Exchange all the time, It's water scarcity and pollution. Water now it's a challenge to get clean source of water. So water availability is a problem. Pollution control norms implementation, wastewater treatment and recycle zero discharge, and public health and drinking water. So these are all the challenges which are there, which we are all aware of, and which is all hitting us hard. Coming to the current state of affairs, we are all right now going through the digital transformation. The fact that we are all meeting over a virtual form on Zoom, it's all about digital. So the ongoing process of digital transformation, the move to a connected, data intelligent industry approach to doing business may well be setting the stage for another transformation that could profoundly change how entire economies and industries would function. And this next transformation would be all about sustainability. The circular economy will be the only economy by 2029 which would be replacing the wasteful linear economies. So a bit on circular economy is an economic model that separates the ability to achieve economic growth from consumption of natural resources. Circular economic business models encourage continuous reuse of materials to minimize waste and the demand for additional natural resource consumption. A good example of this to understand is from the automobile industry, how mounting, refuse, consumer preference, and digital technology are steering automakers towards sustainable products built for circular economy. The automotive or mobility sector is among a wide range of industries from clothing to consumer electronics to construction that are looking beyond the traditional take, make, use, dispose route to a future built on the zero waste principles of reuse, remanufacture, and recycle. And I'll come to this related to water subsequently. If you see the Renault Group, they're talking about designing sustainable vehicles with recycled, recoverable materials. More specifically for the electric vehicles, it's about finding a second life for batteries that are no longer usable. Example, for storing renewable energy or providing power to buildings. Another example, again from the automobile industry, is designing automotive components like lithium-ion batteries, specifically for reuse, is one particular promising circular approach. These batteries could even be designed to enable raw lithium to be extracted and returned to the value chain for reuse. All other vehicle manufacturers are talking about the various components and parts from nuts and bolts to entire drive chain and chassis also could be modularly designed for repurposing, reuse, or recycling instead of scrappage. BMW is exploring that pathway into the circular economy via a partnership with a recycling company that is working to re-engineer the logistics of vehicle scrappage by creating a system for extracting materials and parts components from cars to remanufacture them before they are junked. Various internal and external factors are driving the shift to a more circular way of doing business. Clearly, the most pressing of those is the broad and escalating global waste problem. In releasing the Circular Economy Action Plan earlier in 2020, the European Commission notes that global consumption of materials like biomass, fossils, fuels, metals, and minerals is expected to double in the next 40 years, while annual waste generation is projected to increase 70% by 2050. Also, the shifting consumer and shareholder preferences provide another compelling strategic justification for that pursuit. More consumers are basing purchasing decisions as much on a product's sustainable attributes, recycled content, lower carbon footprint, etc., as other factors like price and product quality. What's more, consumers increasingly want to do business with brands and companies that demonstrate a commitment to sustainable business practices. In a 2019 global survey of nearly 30,000 customers, Accenture strategy found that 62% of customers want companies to take a stand on current and broadly relevant issues like sustainability, transparency, and fair employment practices. So the subject is known and the subject is being implemented, but What's more is how fast it is being implemented. All of you must be aware of the sustainability goals which are formed. These were the goals which were set up in 2015 by UN General Assembly and are intended to be achieved by the year 2030. Action to end poverty, protect the planet, and ensure all people enjoy peace and prosperity. And sustainable development, as it is defined, meets the needs of the present to meet their own without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. And this is very, very relevant to water as we continue now. Raising resources in a way that allows them to renew or continue to exist for others. That's all about sustainability. And this is expected to have economical, social, and environmental impacts. So sustainability is all about doing with people, their well-being, equity in relationship with each other, and in a context where nature and society imbalances threaten economic and social stability, which is addressed. If you come to the water part, the SDG 6, which is also related to affordable and clean energy, sustainable cities and communities, and leading to climate change. Water is at the core of sustainable development and is critical for social economic development, healthy ecosystems, and for human survival itself. As you can see in the next slide, some of the contaminations and the diseases it can cause. So practically the whole human body is connected with water, and thus the significance of human survival in the water system. It is vital for reducing the global burden of diseases and improving the health, welfare, and productivity of populations. It is central to the production and preservation of a host of benefits and services for people. Water is also at the heart of adaptation to climate change, serving as the crucial link between climate systems, human society, and the environment. Water is finite and irreplaceable resource that is fundamental to human well-being. It is only renewable if well managed. Water can pose a serious challenge to sustainable development, but managed efficiently and equitably, water can play a key enabling role in strengthening the resilience of social, economic, and environment systems in the light of rapid and unpredictable changes which are happening in the society. Mr. Harikumar talked about some statistics. I am just sharing the data. 1.1 billion worldwide lack safe drinking water, and this is expected to double by 2025. 2.3 billion without adequate sanitation. 7 million die every year from water-related diseases. 450 million in 29 countries face acute water shortage, and this is expected to be 2.5 billion by 2050. The global water demand doubles every 20 years. In this, I would like to just take a small example of Denmark. I was just reading across, and thus Denmark. It is not a water-stressed country. It supplies copious quantity of drinking water to all of its 5.8 million citizens and the industries that operate in the country, and still has a lot more to spare. But this abundance has not made the country complacent. It has adopted and embraced policies that have made water usage not only efficient, but also environmentally friendly. Its water loss, which is ratio of water pumped out and sold, at 7.29% is among the lowest in the world. As much as 95% of the wastewater that country generates is recovered and treated. Much of it is reused as well. And that's not it. By 2030, Denmark water sector, both involving supply of fresh water and treatment of wastewater, will become climate neutral. So this is the example of a country which is well placed now, but they are not happy. They are continuing to take care of this critical resource. India, on the other hand, is water stressed. If we see our statistics of India's annual $9.7 billion environmental damage 7 billion is due to air and water pollution. Rampant industrial water pollution due to nearly 3 million small and medium-sized enterprises. Untreated and undertreated effluent causes severe ecological degradation and water contamination. It's less than 30% of population which has access to safe drinking water. So close to 600 million of its citizens face high to extreme water stress. Over 2 lakh people die every year due to inadequate access to drinking water. And as Mr. Harikumar said, as per the Niti Aayog report, by 2030, India's water demand is projected to be twice its available supply. World Bank predicts that water shortage will cost the nation 6% of its GDP by 2050. Under the circumstances, the way we have been handling the water sector is nothing short of carelessness. Water loss is in excess of 50%. Now, this is actually, it's criminal. Even if a municipal corporation wants to arrest the water loss, the biggest challenge it faces is lack of data. In the absence of bulk meters, there is no information on where the leakage is happening. I was giving you the example of Denmark. Denmark's water loss was much higher than its present 7.29% when it started installing bulk meters in early 90s. By 1993, the country had imposed penalty tax on water companies, mostly state-owned, that had a loss in excess of 10%. It used the data generated from meters to benchmark one utility against the other, and best practices were shared, and overall water loss began to reduce. India needs to look at measuring water loss in the mains as a first step by installing smart bulk meters. Bangalore's water loss management project, I read recently, showed some significant results. A water loss reduced from 56% to 27%, thus saving about 40 million liters per day, as is reported. But such initiatives have to be done across the country and rapidly across the country. We have shortage, plus we have the issue of contaminants in water. So this slide shows you what are the various kinds of contaminants, the effects it can have, and how it is. These are specific contaminants which is spread all over the country. So water management is important since it is directly related to our health and helps determine future irrigation expectations. Water, which was once an abundant natural resource, is becoming a more valuable commodity due to droughts and overuse. Effective policies can help India tackle not just water stress, but also reduce greenhouse emissions substantially. Now, Ion Exchange is a 57-year-old company, and we have been always talking about water treatment. But we see over the last decade, the change which is happening. It is from conventional sources, which was all there, abundance of water, river, ponds, lakes, glaciers, underground sources like wells, springs, etc. The new source of water is becoming seawater, treated industrial effluent, treated sewage and sullage. Now, this is primarily happening because fresh water is no more available. And even where it is available, it is expensive. Industries also find it difficult to bear that cost. And this is where the subject of wastewater comes in, because wastewater, whether we like it or not, is going to become your primary source of water in the times to come. It has already happened. We are not realizing it. But as we proceed, it will take shape. So if you see wastewater, the financial, environment and social costs are projected to increase dramatically unless wastewater management receives urgent attention in developing countries like India. Immediate, targeted and sustained investment should take multiple forms. I mean, they have to be designed to reduce the volume and extent of water pollution through preventive practices, capture water once it has been polluted, treat polluted water using appropriate technologies and techniques for return to the environment, where feasible, safely reuse and recycle wastewater, thereby conserving water and nutrients, provide a platform for the development of new and innovative technologies and management practices for treating waste. If investments such as these are scaled up appropriately, they will generate social, economical, and environmental dividends far exceeding original investments for years to come. There are technologies to make wastewater as good as fresh water to the extent of 99.9%. But yeah, there is a mental stigma associated with it. As much as 70% of the sewage that is generated in urban India is not treated. It is either discharged partially treated or untreated into the environment. Wastewater generated in rural India is barely captured, and only a fraction of wastewater is reused after treatment. So this is definitely not a good sign as it stands. Yes, fortunately, things are changing, albeit slowly. Investments are being made in treating wastewater. Baby steps have been taken to reuse treated water. There is a lot we can imbibe from Denmark has done to make its water sector self-resilient. So if you see, India is at the epicenter of sustainability. Successful and sustained wastewater management will need an entirely new dimension of investments. To start now, currently, most of the wastewater infrastructure in many of the fastest growing cities is lacking. It is outdated, not designed to meet local conditions, poorly maintained, and entirely unable to keep pace with the rising urban population. Experiences have shown that appropriate investments done in the right manner can provide the required returns. However, it will require not only investments, but careful and comprehensive integrated water and wastewater planning and management at national and municipal levels. This must transcend the entire water supply and disposal chain involving ecosystem management, including coastal waters, agricultural efficiency, and production and treatment of wastewater, and a stronger focus on urban planning. 2 weeks ago, we had the Israeli Water Mission having a conference with us. And there are 2 slides which I captured from their presentation, which I thought would be useful to share here. These are their slides, what they put up. This is India's water maps. So if you see, India uses about 500 times more water than Israel, while the population is only 150-fold. These are some of the statistics which was published in Times of India, and they had taken it for this seminar. Now, why is this? Because Israel, over a period of time, has achieved this. Now, this is something very commendable to see. If you see in the 60s, 70s, it was all natural water, what you see in blue. But slow change from 80s, increasing change from 90s and 2000s, and now it's rapid change. The recharging, the recycling, and the desalinated use of water. Now, if this kind of a model is practiced, and it can very well be practiced because we are not having any dearth of technology or knowledge. We have all the resources. It is the implementation which is truly lacking. So this was, I put this because this is really commendable to see how the natural resource has been conserved and how the waste management and the initiative to really achieve something good for the environment is being done. Now, to achieve this, as I said, if you talk a company like ours and many others, both local as well as multinationals, there are technologies to treat all kinds of water and wastewater, and India has all of that. There is no shortage of technology or knowledge gap. At Ion Exchange, we are focused on water and wastewater management, contributing to the sustainable development goal. And we take pride in offering solutions for water, wastewater, solid waste, waste to energy, catering not to industries, but also communities, institutions, and homes. We are very less in the government sector. Now, as I told in the beginning, the required shift, the past is, as giving the example of automobiles, it is take, make, use, and dispose. Mr. Hari Kumar also talked about it, that absolutely no problem disposing because we just throw it. The shift required is on zero waste principles of reuse, remanufacture, and recycle. Now coming to specific water and wastewater, we talk about zero liquid discharge. So if you see in the past when water was freely available, you have the raw water, you have a water treatment plant, you treat it for your particular process, effluent is generated. There may or may not be an effluent treatment plant, but you discharge. Now, when we talk about modern integrated solution and those principles of zero waste, the four pillars are: one is source reduction. Availability itself is a challenge. The first step is product recovery. The second is waste minimization, and third is water reuse. So if you see the treated water post the process, there is a recovery of the processed water. So this is the product recovery. I mean, it could be oil or it could be anything which can be recovered and put back into the system. There is the waste which is treated, and there is the zero liquid discharge, which is ensuring that water is reused and nothing goes back. So it's a sort of water neutral systems. It is very heartening for us to see that now this subject is top on the boards of progressive companies. Sustainability goals are a topic at the board discussion. Companies like ITC, Hindustan Unilever, Infosys, and all have this as a goal, and they have to show this because they all want to be water neutral. So it is happening, and we have technologies to, this is too much of technology, but at every stage there are products available to treat. I will not go into this, but wherever you want, you have systems or products, chemicals which can treat. I just put some pictures to show that we have all the capabilities in the country, and companies like us and others, not only in India, but we also offer solutions outside. For this is a desal plant. This is an industrial effluent recycle plant, sewage treatment and recycle plant. This is the only kind, unfortunately, but yeah, Akshay Patra waste to energy project in Hyderabad. Rural water management, which has to go a big way: surface treatment, groundwater treatment, disaster management unit, containerized systems. So all these technologies are very much available. It's a question of spending money and having a plan to implement. So coming to the conclusion part, which was a challenge for me to put because the subject is huge and I should not be talking theory. So, you know, we need to maintain a balance between available resources and the ever increasing water demand poses a significant challenge today. And globally, 80% untreated wastewater flows back into the ecosystem, affecting 1.8 billion people who use contaminated source of drinking water. And we all know the causes, the effects of that. This issue is exacerbated in heavily populated countries like India, where both the availability and quality of water is exigent. It is imperative that water be effectively managed not at the source, but throughout its life cycle. And this is where we need to really get into. If you see the sustainability zone, it was talked about people, planet, and profit. If you see the economic section, yeah, there could be profit, there can be cost savings, economic growth and R&D can happen. Social standard of living, education, community, health will go up. And environment, you will, the natural resource is being reused, environment management and pollution prevention can happen. And the drivers for this have to be a combination of the stakeholders, the customers, employees, investors, NGOs, public, compliance, the government regulation and the industry standards. I must say from our experience that industry is definitely changing at a much faster pace, both, as I said, from the stakeholder and the board level, as well as from the customer level, the statistics which were shared. It's the government regulations and implementation, yeah, which needs to catch up. And there are the other business drivers, competition and market access. All this combination is what will really drive this. So coming to clean water and sanitation, We need to have a lot of data and information on the current statistics. The capacity has to be developed. Innovation has a big role to play. Governance has a very critical role to play, and money needs to be spent. These are some of the factors where this goal will really be achieved when we do some of these things. So if I were to give as a concluding action plan, the current slow change to be made into a fast change, adaptation and implementation of new technologies to become self-sufficient and sustainable in water supply to all sectors, especially in the municipal and the government sector. People are still sticking to the age-old technologies, the conventional treatment as we call, whereas there are a lot of new technologies saving space, saving power, saving use of chemicals. But yeah, capital investment has to take place. Allocate long-term sustainable additional water resource for the domestic, industrial and agriculture sector, desalination, due use of wastewater and brackish water. Comprehensive timely data is critical for efficient integrated management of water resource. Encourage and incentivize startups to work on increasingly efficiency of water reuse, smart water management, leak detection, drip irrigation, etc. We have a lot of startups in all the areas, primarily IT, but this is also an area where a lot could be done. And the economic and policy reforms to account for the real price of water. The previous slide, I talked about the whole life cycle of water. I think this is very crucial that today everybody needs to know that there is a price for water. It's no more a birthright. It's no more a freely available resource. One has to be prepared to pay for water. We know in the past what has happened. At one time in Chennai, water was costlier than milk. You have the states fighting over water, like for example, Karnataka and Tamil Nadu. So there is a price for water which has to be known to people, and one has to pay for it if you really want to conserve this natural resource. This is a video I would like to, it's a 5 minutes video. It has some English mistakes, but it's taken from Google. But this is a video which I use a lot. And I feel it is a social responsibility to make people aware. I use this a lot with children to make them aware that even a small step like while brushing your teeth, if you close the tap, you are saving a lot of water. So I would like to play this video before I end the presentation. this was made by our former president way back in 2002, and I think it was published somewhere in France, and this is available on Google. So my definition of water, there is a need to redefine it. W for watch, A for act, T for treasure, E for economize, and R for recycle. I think this is how from H2O we need to define water this way if we have to really save this precious commodity. So it's everybody's business. Together we can make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dinesh. Thank you for a wonderful presentation. Let me admit that the video is a bit scary, and I think it has been made like that basically to drive a point across, because I don't think we are very genuine. I mean, we have very ingenuity in us, and things will not turn out this bad. See, now we have time for certain questions and all that. I think Mr. Vinod has a question that from where can we download this video, because they can share it to people. See, the basic idea is so that the message gets communicated across.
Absolutely. So as I said, if you go to Google and do year 2070, you will get this video. You have to go to Google year 2070, you will get the video. And I have been really using this video. Yes, Mr. Harikumar, it's not as scary as the video shows. And we can only guess it will not be as bad as that. But when you show this to the youngsters today, I mean, they really value this video. And as I said, many children, I have working with some NGOs as part of our corporate social responsibility. While brushing, you know, when you keep the tap closed, how much water can be shared? They start asking and they realize it, you know, they really realize the importance of it.
Mr. P.S. Menon has a question that we all know some countries in the world desalinate seawater. What would be the effect of this in the long term?
Seawater is a resource which is available in abundance. The issue is the cost, the capex cost of installing the unit. And once the capex is spent on it, the technology is available to make it as good as normal water and use it. Today, that would be one of the best solutions for many of the urban cities. So there is no negative effect. Yeah, there is a financial implication. That's what one has to be prepared to spend.
Let me ask you another thing. Do you think our policymakers are aware about the problem in hand? See, because you were talking about reducing the groundwater level. And as I was talking, water guzzling products basically used in, basically being cultivated. And as you were flagging, usage of 500 times more water than Israel, where population is only 150 times. So is our policymaker or are our policymakers aware, and is the issue getting communicated with the seriousness it deserves?
The policymakers are aware. They are aware and they are very knowledgeable. I know of various government authorities visiting various countries and collecting data on all this. And they are also aware that we have the capability to really implement it. It is the implementation which is slow. Like, for example, about a decade ago, we talked with BWSSB, the Bangalore Water and Wastewater Company, for leak detection. Now, it's a whole set of, you know, if I may say, it's a contractor mafia which operates, you know. Nobody lets you go anywhere near that, you know. So you are aware, you know there is a problem, but you really can't access it. So now I see that the pollution authorities are seriously talking about implementation. Like if you see today, that's a challenge we face when we are implementing water systems in companies, in progressive companies. Everybody talks about installing the water treatment system because that's when they can start their production. Nobody is talking about installing the wastewater system, effluent treatment plant, or the multiple effect evaporator for zero liquid discharge. But today, Unless that is installed, you don't get the consent to operate. So that those kind of norms are being implemented today, that you have to go for it before you commence your production. So that's in the industrial sector. But coming to your question on policy makers and implementation, awareness is there, implementation is poor.
I have one more question. See, basically, I've been in the chemical sector for more than 30, 40 years, and I'm aware. So basically, initially, okay, the pollution control and the water discharge was not very strict, but as you correctly said, now it is very, very strict. So the pollution from the industry per se has come down. But the major problem which is affecting the quality of drinking water is municipal waste, which is getting diverted to all the rivers. And the Namami Ganga project, or the Ganga purification project, or even the fecal matter percentage, even in Kerala, if you take it, the Periyar water, the quality of water is very bad, basically because the fecal matter percentage is very high, E. coli percentage is very high. So these can be addressed only at the municipal level. Okay, you can generate public awareness and all that, but it is very difficult to change the public perception per se, because people take water for granted. Let us put it very clearly. So how do we go ahead in this?
I mean, I would say that when we have set up a goal for being neutral by 2030, now the goal is set. Now, if you really want to go about implementing it, it has to start across all levels. And I was giving the example of Denmark, where they were imposing penalties on the municipal corporations. It was all state-owned and privatized. Like, for example, Israel, they were saying that water belongs to the government. It is a government property. Even if you have your own well, the water is a government resource. They treat it that way. So data has to be there and goals have to be set. And this has to be, since bulk of our water is handled by the municipal corporations, it has to start from that level. It has to start from that level, and the conventional methods have to change, whether it is technology or the operating people. That has to change, because you have to be open to change. Today, I mean, with due respect, if you talk to some of the PWD team, they're comfortable with the conventional technologies of filtration or whatever you say. They don't want to change. So unless you change, you will not be able to achieve some of these results. When we talk to the government, the ministry for change, the meeting goes off very well. Everything is understood. It's not lack of knowledge, but then subsequently nothing happens.
Renu, you have anything?
Yeah. Thank you, Dinesh. It was very enlightening. Although we know all these matters, when an expert talks about it, it is communicated well. And yes, it is quite relevant also. We could see almost 50 numbers logged in today, which is a good number for our meetings. Dinesh, I have two questions for you. One is domestic usage of water. Since I am a retired person, I am not going into the commercial part of it. Domestic usage, in Ernakulam also, we have shortage of drinking water generally, and drinking water. I also have a borewell at home. So how do you recycle that? How costly is it? And I am told that it is a very expensive proposition for a domestic consumer. So do you have any technologies in ion exchange which provides, the recycling of this borewell water at a reasonable cost? That is the first question. Second question is regarding waste management. Yes, it is a menace for us. And do you think there is a potential business in this? Because, there is one municipality, they can create a model for waste management, and that can be replicated a few places. There is a lot of potential, as I could see. Do you think there is a potential for business? If it is projected as a business, many of the industrialists will be interested to, come out with projects, and that will be useful for our waste management also. These are the two questions. Thank you once again.
Yes. The first question on recycling the domestic waste. Well, it is very much possible.
Water.
Yeah, domestic water, the wastewater also. I'll give you the example of what they do in hotels, and the same principle applies even for apartments, or may not be individual homes. Individual homes may be too small, but there are products. There are water saving products. It's like There are good appliance kind of products are there, which can say what. I'll share a little on that. But if you look at a hotel, and it's no different from a big apartment, the water, the fresh water is used, say, for kitchen use. It's softened and used for various cooking needs. That sewage can be treated and used for your toilet use. That can be treated further and used for gardening use. So you're not using fresh water. You're using all through treated water. And to the last extent, you use that before you discharge. So the same principle, now apartments are doing it. Now, why it is not happening is, we talk to builders, say in Bangalore, there are a lot of builders. It is very interesting to hear them. When you talk to them about a sewage treatment plant, the builder's question, the counter question is, how many parking lots will he lose? Because for him, it is selling of the parking lot, which is more relevant than installing a sewage treatment plant. And further, what happens is, nobody wants to spend money in this area. A builder would like to spend money to give a show to the front glass or whatever appearance of the building, because that's how he sells the project. But he is not talking about the recycle system in the apartment. So treatment of waste, water and wastewater, even in communities, is very much possible. Capex cost is something which, yes, there will be a cost unless the consumer is ready to look at it from a life cycle cost point of view. When you look at the life cycle cost, it is not very expensive. But today, the mindset is not there to spend for treating, a sewage treatment plant or costs of that kind. So that's the on the first part. On your second part was on the wastewater, right? The viability as a business model. Oh yes, like how you are talking about IT waste, the electronic waste. This waste is no different. You can really make, and the way to make that is if you go for common treatment systems. There are companies, and in fact, where I am sitting right now, we have a laboratory in our office. It's a small testing lab for testing water and wastewater. We don't have an effluent treatment plant. So we have an agency which comes and collects the waste and goes. Because this is a commercial building, we don't have space for that. So there are companies who are already doing this as a business proposition, collecting waste, taking it to a common treatment plant and treating it. Further, if you want to make business model out of it, we should also talk about converting this waste to energy. There are technologies to convert waste to energy. So it can be a wonderful business proposition if one is wanting to do it.
I know why Hari is smiling.
Yeah, because I was smiling because of the waste to energy thing, because we have a linkage with that, right?
We had a project in Cochin Chamber, a waste to energy. We found a company also, but the technology given by the people who are involved are not workable actually. We lost some money also.
Okay. It's not only Cochin Chamber, because Mr. Dinesh, I think there are a lot of fly-by-night operators in this waste to energy business. So as I was talking, getting the right technology is a very, very critical thing on waste to energy. Even Government of Kerala in this, what do you call it, that Brahmapuram waste to energy, that was also a flop. See, waste management basically because of the seepage of water and basically because people have not been taking it seriously. There is a lot of public outcry. Nobody wants a waste to energy thing or water treatment or whatever it is to be put up their area of residence. It's a very serious issue. Any further questions? Mr. Kamath?
No, he has already answered. I wanted to know about the cost and he has already answered.
Yeah.
He has already answered, sir.
Mr. VR Nair has asked a question in the chat box. We've been hearing about the linking of rivers. Understand Telangana is embarking on a very ambitious but worthwhile project. Would this have an impact for states like Kerala?
I would not know specifically for Kerala, but I would say that linking of rivers is definitely a good step forward, because it will really balance out the overall requirement. I would not know specifically of the impact on Kerala, what it will have.
Another question from Mr. Bibu Punuran is, how viable is it for producing water from the atmosphere or air, especially in areas where there are no rivers or sea, etc.?
Yeah, there are technologies, but commercial viability at this stage is not there. The commercial viability is not there, but there are nascent technologies are coming for creating water. That is, I would say, it is in the formation stage.
But I think we are all looking at technologies, but we are not talking about conservation of rainwater, which we get plenty. I think that should be a focus area.
So that, I think now the norms are getting implemented, though it was always there on paper. But I was reading that in Bangalore today, you will not get the consent to the occupation certificate will not be given unless you have a sewage treatment plant for, I think, units more than 50 and a rainwater harvesting project. And rainwater is one of the purest forms of water with simple filtration. It is as good as drinking water. And that is again something which will, recharge the groundwater, as well as you can collect, store, and use that water for many purposes, many purposes. Earlier in apartments, people, even where I live, there are these car cleaners who come in the morning, take the hose pipe or buckets of water to clean the cars, fresh water. Now, there are places where rainwater is collected and that is stored in the tank, and from there you use. So these are all steps which will conserve water.
As they say in cricket, 1 run saved is 1 run earned. So likewise, are there any subsidies given by the waste and central and state governments for purification of wastewater or setting up wastewater treatment facilities? That's a question from Srijitas Kumar, our secretary.
Like how we have for solar, there are subsidies. If you have a solar in the plant, your electricity bill gets some reduction. It is being talked for rainwater harvesting, but more it is being talked for sewage treatment plant, but not implemented so far. Not implemented so far. Because it's a good point that there has to be a motivation to spend. There has to be a return on the money spent, but it is not there so far.
Dinesh, is it covered by the CSR funds, this waste management?
Yes.
So that can prompt, many of the companies to.
Yes. No, so right now, even what we do as a company and what we do with other companies, the whole focus of CSR of many companies today, it is on drinking water, safe drinking water, and sanitization. Right now, it is at that stage. But I'm sure it will go to the stage of, wastewater treatment, recycle, and all this. Right now, providing safe drinking water to schools and all, it's happening in a big way.
And there was a report, I think, in India Today or something, where they say that even our house sewage system itself is to be redesigned, because to almost 100 grams of fecal matter to dispose it of, use 3 to 4 liters of water. And just imagine what is the quantity of water we use every day. So unless we have a total relook at the usage pattern, I think we will not be able to conserve water. So I would like to take.
Yeah, what is happening is the new buildings are coming with separate pipelines, for taking the wastewater. Unfortunately, the old ones don't have that provision also available, because you'll have to change your complete piping to take the wastewater and treat, So that's a challenge. And nobody wants to spend on an existing building, for this kind of cost. But yes, all progressive new buildings come with separate pipelines.
Thank you.
I believe there are some parasites used, for this destroying the fecal thing, isn't it? Without.
Yeah, there are enzymes. There are a lot of enzymes for sewage and sewage.
Bacteria, aerobic and anaerobic treatment of waste, all these things are there. Now, congratulations, Mr. Dinesh, because Ion Exchange is rightly placed and it is at the right time, and the awareness of, wastewater treatment and the requirement of clean drinking water is increasing. So you are rightly placed, and as a company and as a CEO, so I would wish you the very best, because it's the right time you are heading the company. If there are no further questions, I would request Mr. Veeramani, our Vice President, to say the vote of thanks. Any further questions before we hand over the stage to Mr. Veeramani? Any questions? Mr. Veeramani, it's yours.
Yeah. Good morning to all of you.
Good morning.
See, I remember the days when I used to go to school. There was a petrol pump opposite Maharajas College ground where it was an Esso petrol pump, where they used to have a big board kept, and it had only 2 lines. It said, "Air and water free, happy motoring." I still remember those that big board there. Now, 50 years down the line, now I find that, water is no longer free. You pay for the water. And the video says by 2070, you're going to pay for the air also. I think that is how we have moved over the period of time. But from the chamber, I feel extremely happy that we have selected this topic and the right speaker, because today, as our past president said, we had the maximum participation in the recent times for this morning program. In spite of it being a virtual program, we had the maximum participation. Now, the meeting took us through, the speaker took us through something new, that the word water could also have a definition. And that is a message I think we should be carrying with people when we speak about water today. And he ended up by saying, conventional methods should change, or rather change is required. And it should start from the thinking of the people itself. And I'm sure that, as he rightly pointed out, because I stay in an apartment which is about 10 years old. And even though I had suggested installing of a recycling plant, etc. there, because of the cost involved, neither the builder is interested, nor the owners are also interested. But I find that, all the newer apartments are definitely having this recycling plants and sewage plants installed. And the biggest challenge would be that, because in all major cities where the water conservation is the most important one, how to convert the existing ones into the to install recycling plants, etc., so that we save water. It could be possibly the challenge, and people like Dinesh's company could be the forerunners who could come out with some scientific ideas how it could be cost friendly and how this could be installed. Even from the chamber side also, we had attempted this waste to energy some 10 years before. But as I rightly said, it became a waste of energy and not waste to energy. I take this opportunity to thank Mr. Dinesh for being with us today morning and explain to us, though we are all aware about the necessity to conserve water, because I remember my father's place is Shoranur, and I remember that at my childhood days when we used to go there, father used to show Bharatapuzha. Now when I take my grandchild, you have to show that, this was Bharatapuzha, because what I see is not water. It's only a small lane of water going, and there is hardly anything, especially if you look at it from the Patambi Bridge. There is hardly any water over there. Let me take this opportunity to thank Mr. Dinesh for giving a big insight into this, and I'm very sure that we are all the point which we are all aware have once again been reiterated, and we hope to take it forward from here. Let me also thank all the members who had logged in here, and it is encouraging that we have more people coming into even in the virtual mode. And it was last January 2021, we started back in the physical mode. And I hope that, as things stand today, January 22 also, we may go back to the physical mode of the CEO forum. And we'll have more people meeting one another. I think I'll close here and thank one and all for having joined today. And we hope to meet soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Dinesh, once again.
Thank you, Mr. Dinesh, and thank you, Venu, for connecting with Mr. Dinesh. It was a wonderful session. Thank you.
Thank you all. And I would only say, please do share the video with maximum number of people for awareness.
We'll do that. No, even your presentation, if you can share, that would be good, because we can just share it across. Because our motto also is to communicate and spread the message across.
I will send across the presentation, as well as I will also send a brief on waste to energy, what we are doing, because I will send that across if in case you find it useful, because we have Akshay Patra running, but we also have smaller plans. So I would send that too.
No, that would be a good idea, basically, because the chamber is, as I was saying, chamber is a public policy advocacy forum, and government also consults us in many areas. And this waste to energy is a matter of big concern for the government also. So as I was again saying, the technology, the right technology availability is an issue. So if we can share it across, let us also deliberate on that, and we will also help you to take it forward, because we are all concerned about a clean environment.
I'll do that. I'll do that.
To add on to that, as you know, Cochin Chamber is quite relevant in Kerala as also in South India. We are one of the very few chambers which are invited by the finance minister every year for the pre-budget sessions, which the numbers are only around 15 to 20. So we are also one of the chamber which is invited for those sessions. And the government also, both central and state governments, give a lot of space for Cochin Chamber in the developmental activities here. So if there is any area where Ion Exchange can associate with us in these programs, we'll be only grateful to do that. Chamber will always be available for associating with Ion Exchange and taking things forward, actually, because the topic is quite relevant, actually. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you, and have a great day.
Thank you, President.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.